What's up, good people? Welcome to yet another Trucker Connect. As you can see, there may be a little different setting. I thought during this time it would be vitally important for me to make sure that I'm doing my part with being able to provide you with community resources. So I am super excited to have today Dr. Keith Curry, who's coming in as, a whole bunch of stuff, right?
A whole bunch of stuff.
I don't want to forget anything out, so I'm going to let him introduce himself before we get into this segment. So who are you? What do you do?
Well, I do quite a few things. I am currently the program director for a mental health agency based out of Richmond, Virginia, but we have a satellite office in the peninsula of Hampton, Virginia. Also a parent educator through the Supreme Court of Virginia. And I also do work with the Portsmouth Drug Court.
Okay, so did y'all catch all of that?
And a full-time pastor. So.
Right. So I am extremely grateful for this opportunity, and I thank you for your time because you could have been anywhere. But as you all have already heard, this is a wealth of knowledge that's sitting in front of us today. So instead of me doing like this boring conversation piece, I just wanted to just nitpick your brain in every way possible because now we find ourselves in a different setting.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, you have a lot of parents that are now becoming their service provider for their kids because of not having that resource available to them every day. And so I guess the first question that I would have for you is, what are some of the key advice that you would give when it comes to dealing with a student that, may not be adjusting to this new setting?
One of the main things is this is new for everybody.
Okay.
This is something I'm not adjusted
Right.
to it. Everything is on Zoom. I kind of just save gas. I appreciate
Right.
that. But it's adjusting. The thing is that this can become a trigger but we don't understand that being home from some kids is a trigger. That's why we have behaviors in school. Because going home, preparing to go home, being home, but we don't know what's going on becomes a particular trigger. So the parent must be able to identify what's going on, their environment, or is there someone in the home, or is something going on in the home. That may be a particular trigger. That house could have been where trauma has happened. That house could have been where issues have occurred, or something has not, something, or a parent has been absent. It may be a trigger for them. So the parent must begin to identify the triggers and understand, hey, that this is something new for all of us, and to be able to help them cope. They gotta find coping mechanisms that will assist the children in coping with this new way of life. Right,
I would completely agree. I mean, just thinking about what I've gone through in the last couple of weeks of just myself trying to adjust. And I think a lot of times, in many cases, the parents are so used to doing everything else that now they're fulfilling a position that most of them may not even feel qualified for.
Correct.
And so you use the key word coping. What is coping? What does that even look like? I know it's a term we throw around freely, but even as adults have not even mastered that term. So what is that?
Coping, let me give it in my term, is finding a place of settlement.
Okay.
Finding a place of calming, finding a place to soothe, to work, or to adjust, to adapt, and to adapt, to adjust, and to learn how to overcome. Coping is something that you have to become compliant with. You have to work, they have to be addressed, something to go towards. So I always say that coping is something to work towards when there's always friction, but it's something to work towards. So trying to find something that will bring peace and settlement, which most people have issue with.
Right.
Finding peace.
Right.
And settlement, because we're trying to find peace in a world right now of uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's coming. We're frightened of the fall. We're frightened of the winter, of the corona and the flu and any other thing they come up with these days and times.
Right.
But coping is something that you really have to find your inner peace. And everybody does not have the same coping mechanism.
Right, so not a one size fits all.
No, it's not. It does not. So you have to find out what gloves fit for you and wear it well.
And then knowing that when it comes to a point where I have to step away to reevaluate, maybe I need to change some stuff. Because coloring might have worked in elementary school, but now you find them getting older. So it may be a point of finding some other extracurricular activities to be able to occupy their time to de-escalate the situation. And so in a lot of cases, I always use this reference that in the older generation or, in the upbringing, a lot of people were based upon that robot generation. Sit down, be quiet, do what I tell you to do because I told you so. And so now, because of these forward thinking and the new generation, is almost like getting to the point of understanding that things that once worked are actually adding fuel to the fire rather than putting that fire out.
Correct.
And so in this instance, what would be some advice that you would give to a parent that has to know that there may come a point where you have to step back and reevaluate even our approach as parents?
Ooh, that is a fully loaded question. Very fully loaded. I believe that as parents, we have to understand that you are a parent.
Mm-hmm.
And we are imperfect creatures, because I'm a parent, I'm a single father. We are imperfect creatures. When I told my son, I said, son, I'm going to be your instructor for the particular school year, his heart dropped. I'm a drill master. He was like, no, this cannot be. This can. I love you, but this is because I'm about education, and I play no games. I said, that's no Fortnite. There's no nothing on this week, game. And then I was like, well, no, I'm really gonna let you go to a tutorial program so you can go out on a date and get out of the house.
Right.
And get some type of normality in that particular thing. What I learned as a parent is that I don't know everything. I'm not going to know everything. What I learned as a parent is it's okay to say I don't know.
Yeah.
The first day of school I think I was more stressed out than he was.
Right.
I was calling, I was fussing, I was like, why are you not on Zoom? Why am I someone having discretion time? And because I have a good good relationship with most of the principals, I'm calling like, hey, you better get your teachers, So, and I had to step back and say, it's okay. It's okay. It's not working. And look on Facebook, everybody's going through the same issue.
Right.
So I've learned how to withdraw to say, I am human. I'm not perfect. I'm not a teacher. I'm not your principal. I'm your father. I know I am to many things to everybody in the community, but right now, I'm your father. So what I did is I connect with people who don't do what I do or don't know things that I don't know to assist me. We got to be able to accept help and adapt, change, and overcome.
That's a good point. I think what you just said was key. We are parents. But the other day I just realized though, I think many times titles cause confusion or anxiety or fear. And so if you really think about it, we have been our kids' first teachers. Yeah. In everyday life, granted, they go off to school and they've gotten that academic setup from, other individuals, but we have been our kids' teachers. But it's key for us to understand our subject, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
This is really, we have to really practice what we've been preaching all year.
Yeah, you're right.
This is what the kids are like, well, Mama, Dad, you didn't know what you were saying. All you been saying was not true, so everything's going to hit us, right like that.
And I think that example in which we're projecting to our kids is more important in this time than being able to know 2 + 2. You know what I'm saying? Like to see how we respond, how we act under pressure. And even to know, as you stated, sometimes we are wrong.
Right.
And being a human enough, an adult enough to acknowledge that. Kids have so much more respect for an adult that comes and says, hey, I dropped the ball.
Correct.
Because that shows that they're human.
Right.
Instead of this superhuman that dictates stuff to me. And so I feel like in this time, it is huge for the relationship building of getting back to the basis of that which we've gotten so far away from.
Correct.
I'm working 12+ hours. I'm taking and serving in ministries. I'm over here and I'm over there, and I'm able to be everything for everybody else. I even appeared on this fake facade to get through the day, and when it comes time for me to be with my kids, that's who I really am. And that ugly side of what I can't say at work because I need to keep my job, I'm putting it on my kids.
Right.
And so in that instance, as you said, an educator for the adults, what are some things or some steps that we could begin to take to develop ourselves so that we can be the best product or best version of ourselves for our children?
First of all, be true to who you are. Be true to who you were, and be true to who you're becoming. I believe that most of us have PTSD, we have post-traumatic stress disorder, from some type of trauma. We all have experienced some type of trauma in our life that we don't understand that someone is affecting us right now. And I always tell my people, especially at my church, that the demons that we don't conquer will become the demons that become the temptation that our children play with in the future. So we must learn how to conquer ourselves. I think with our culture, people, this new generation, the blacks and whites, Latino, they don't believe in therapy. They don't believe we're going to seek professionals. We was taught, we were prone to that. So now we have trauma, here we go, and now we have fear. It's not the fear that we have of failing as a parent. we have a fear of becoming better than the parents that we had.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so the issue that we have with that is that now that we have fear, we have anxiety. And when anxiety creeps in, we have anxiety attacks, we have panic attacks, we have people now who are stagnant, and we start developing all these disorders. My theory to this day, all right? My theory to this day, and I can promise you I can prove it, that most disorders come from stress.
Definitely.
Most disorders stem from stress. I did a study before when we talked about cancer. I said, how can you know you had cancer for 2-3 years, nothing wrong, but the moment you find out about it, your body starts deteriorating. Why? The fear, the stress. Am I going to die? Is this the end all? Is this going to happen?
Right.
So what we're taking to know with parents is that most of us, sometimes we put on a facade. I gotta go be the hero for the church. I gotta go be the pastor for the church. I gotta go be Dr. Karen. I gotta go save the world. But who saves me and my children?
Right.
Who's gonna save me from when I'm getting ready to collapse? So what I have to learn is that every time I put this is the practice. Please, parents, practice this.
Listen.
When you get home, take about 10-15 minutes in your driveway, in your garage, whatever you do, take your moment.
Yeah.
I sit in my driveway, I pull out my phone, and I just de-escalate all that I've just been through. Because I see deaths, I see people shot, I see people going through, I see taking kids out of homes, I see kids abused, molested. I go through all of that trauma. And now you're out there wearing and be quiet.
Yeah.
Until I go see my therapist.
Right.
So, right?
Right.
But it is recommended if you work for me, you must have a therapist. I don't play that. You have to have someone to talk to because you can't wear everybody's issues. You're in school.
Right.
There are kids that come talk to you in confinement, and they want confidential. You got to work that stuff, and they're like, please don't tell nobody. And of course, you're a mandated reporter, but you got to tell them it's going to hurt them, hurt someone else. But certain things that's not in that threatening point, you got to hold that there in. And all we can do is pray and encourage and try to uplift them up. But then we begin to see why parents, why they do what they do, and why the kids are doing what they do. We begin to hide. We live behind masks.
Right.
Before this corona came out, we were hiding.
Yeah.
We were smiling, but we were muzzled behind these masks before these even came out. We were quiet. You don't say nothing. You don't tell people going how we was taught that. But what we don't understand, what parents are, we have to be very meticulous in what we are doing and what we're presenting and showing towards our children every day. Find time for self-care.
Yeah, self-care.
You got to find time for self-care.
And then saying that your children need time for self-care.
Absolutely. They need mental health day.
Right.
Every time I would go get my son from school and just pick him up and say, hey, we're gonna go here. Or I'll call, I say, hey, pack your bag. What we're doing, we're going to Disney World tomorrow. Yeah. You're not going to school for the next 2 days. You got straight A's and B's, you're not going to school the next day because he needs a break. And he understands I need a break because guess what? I can't be a healthy parent and raise a sick child.
Right.
You understand?
Or a sick parent raising a healthy kid.
And vice versa, because my sickness will start to dwell upon my child. So if I keep my mental health and myself together, I'm able to raise productive kids. I do not bring what's outside inside.
Yeah, that's key. And so, it would be ideal or perfect, especially for those parents that are taking on this journey as a single parent. Where do I find that time for self-care? And mind you, I have to still go to work and still be a teacher. And parents, we understand, we're living it. That now we've been put into a place where it would be nice to have that magic button to say, oh yeah, on Tuesday and Thursdays we have self-care, and then on this day we're going to make sure we complete assignments. But reality is saying, that is not possible. And so for that parent that is taking this on by themselves, what are some steps or things that you think are vitally necessary to adapt into our everyday life to make sure that we at least can find that center or begin to be in the progress of making those changes that's necessary when working with our kids as well as trying to just survive?
Parents, you're not by yourself. There's always somebody that is going through something similar or worse than you. You just have to seek out for help.
Ask for help. That's key.
Superman and Batman would never know you were in need for help unless you send out a signal.
Say it again. That was good.
So you have to send out a signal, humble yourself, and first know you don't know it all. We don't. Mind you, I have multiple degrees, okay? I'm going to work on another doctor, okay? And the stuff I was looking at my son said, I must get with this here, right? So I'm like, I'm in school now and I don't know what you're doing, but I have help. Mm-hmm. It'll make me look less than a father.
Right.
Because I'm reaching out for help. It lets me look more of a parent to tell my son, I do not, and listen, even when I do know it, I act like I don't know. To teach him, son, it's okay to reach out horizontally for help. Right. It's also vertically to reach out for help. But there are people, we were never meant to go through anything by ourselves. Right. Parents, find a support team. But you have to be careful because sometimes we've been betrayed with so much trauma that it's hard to trust people with our very well-being.
Oh yes, certainly.
But there is somebody out there who went through something just like you, who's going through the same thing like you, that can use your testimony. And you can help them, and you both can become trust partners, accountability partners, right? And help each other. There are resources. I'm so upset that there's so many resources out here that people don't know. Right. When you don't have no particular, they have no clue. With all the stuff I hear giving out food, on Saturday we partnered with we've all been partnered with the food bank, but on Saturday they called me, a church can pick up, I picked up 20 boxes of food on Food Line. And I just went on Facebook and said, hey, meet me at the building, I'm gonna pass out food, no limit. 15, 20 bags, whatever, all touch steak, chicken, everything you can populate that you buy in the store, name brand I had. People came to get it out. You don't understand, I just lost my job and I didn't get paid here. And I'm thinking about, wait a minute, with all these resources, why you don't have food? Yeah. Ask for help. It's some people, they just don't have the ability to connect. Yeah. Or the resource. And some people are even afraid because they don't want you to know that I'm going through. Yeah. But why starve when I'm giving you and offering you food? Right. Why be thirsty when I'm offering you something to drink? Sorry. But you gotta lend out your hand. You gotta show me some type of sign. Hey, I need help. Yeah. So be sure, parents, that you're making sure you're sending out those signals. It's okay to not be okay, but what are we gonna do to get okay? Once you identify that there is an issue, to stay in that issue and to think that change is going to happen from doing the same thing over and over again, that's insanity. But when you step and say, hold up, this is not normal, this is not right, I can no longer keep going through this, because at the end of the day, guess who's watching? They're watching the response, they're watching how you handle the situations, they're even watching how you act towards them. The kids are affected by this tremendously in a lot of cases, and we think that we're hiding it. Kids are so smart. Like, their discernment, I learned when my daughter was born, the level of discernment. And I think us changing our perspective on feeling like failures, the moment that we understand what that really is the moment growth can begin to happen. Because if you think about it, and I've said this before, we were born failures. We can't walk, we can't talk, we can't read, we cannot do anything. But because of the determination that we had to achieve that ultimate goal, whether it was walking or reading or talking, we said, I'm going to do whatever I have to do, practice over and over again, regardless of how many times I have to fall. I'm going to keep going in because I'm not worried about the position that I currently have. Correct. I'm more focused on where it is that I'm headed. And so we keep getting it. And then you find out when you're 4, you're able to read your first words, or when you're 5, you're able to make that score into the basket. And we have to get back to that child mentality, not to be childish, but to be childlike, because it's the purest form of love. It's resilience, it's acceptance, it's hard work. And in many cases, we feel like we're some gift to kids, but kids are a gift to us because we get to see that purest form of life again. The thing that we forgot about, I keep asking the question, at what point do we lose that ability to bounce back? What point do we understand that our failures is not to be a final destination, but it's a part of the journey of us becoming greater than what we are in that current moment? So I guess my question for you is, when taking and going through these steps, or better yet, being able to say, okay, I can't do this by myself, what are some of the steps that need to be taken when you say, I need the help? First thing I want to say is make this comment: parents, do not overpromise and underdeliver. Do not overpromise and underdeliver. Right. Know what you can handle. Don't live a facade for social media.
Right, right.
And you're suffering in private at home.
Right.
Steps that people have to make, if I believe, is addressing past failures, but not going back to relive it. That's something that we have that's internal. Because what we're living external, outside, is something that's bothering us internal. So I don't look at girls who may be prostituting their body, or guys who may be selling drugs, or they just want to be bad. There's something internal that has not tricked that mechanism, that neurophysiological system has not tricked, but something going on with parents, with us learning steps to become better, steps to improve, steps to make sure that we are inherent there. It's first thing that they are admitting where we are,
right,
but not accepting where we are. You said it just appear where we are. This is not the end all. This is not our final destination. I'm determined to be better. I am straight from Lincoln Park. Their home, the projects of Portsmouth. My mother's from Lincoln Park. My daddy's from Outer Harbor. Straight from the project, I was brought up poor. I know all about it. Lived in part shelter. Know what it is to be homeless and live in a motel. But I determined at the age of 8 years old that I was not going to live like this anymore. And I promised myself, and I prayed, I said, Lord, if you get me and my family out of this, we'll never come back to this. And I have held that vow to this particular day. And I still go back to my roots. I can still go back to my hood and go visit and help those who want it. Everybody don't want it.
Yeah, everybody does.
Okay, and you have to be I've built it so long. You have to make sure you understand that you can't help, because what happened you was hurting me. Everybody does not want the help, but if those who want the help, give it to them.
Right, right.
But there's only so amount of time that I'm going to carry your weight.
Right.
You understand? I help you, but you got to carry your own weight.
Yeah.
I'll drag you for a little bit.
Right, right.
But you're going to have to do a point is to carry weight. I tell my church all the time, I said, isn't it amazing it takes one person to carry you when you're alive and 6 people carry you when you're dead? You're no use to me when you're dead. You're too weighty. Right. There's no life in you. And so parents have to start taking the steps of living again. And stop letting their failures and what did not happen to determine where they are, where their children are. Speak life. Me and my son have an affirmation every morning. I tell my daughter how beautiful she is. I tell my son how sexy and how handsome he is. He loves to hear those words. He's very kind, by the way. And you tell him how intelligent he is. You know, he does have them aha retarded moments. I tell you all the time, this generation is book smart, but they have no common sense.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. That's just what it is. And so I told him just to understand knowledge is, and we always teach our children to look at our failures. Don't become like us. And I tell my son, I said, just don't look at my failures, look at my progress. Life is like a trampoline. You can always hit rock bottom and bounce back. It's the harder you hit, the higher you go.
Right.
So that's how we live our life as trampoline. Is that the more weight I carry, the harder I'm going to go down, but the higher I'm going to go up.
Right.
But I determine how high I go by how low I hit.
That's good. And so when taking that approach to deal with our mental health, how does an individual go about searching or finding somebody? Because the one thing about therapy, when you start to take control of your mental health, is to understand that it's not a one-size-fits-all. So, you know, you may go to a therapist and they may be horrible because that's not the one for you. You're right. Sadly to say, because we're, at the end of the day, we're human. There's no magic button.
But because people become therapists by school trade with no experience.
Right.
They've never been through the school of heart math. They've never been through trials and tribulations like most have. I want to be a police officer. To this day, that's why I have so many speed tickets. I want to be a police officer. I want to go in the military. I wanted to retire. I want to be going to the Secret Service. And I wanted to work somewhere in the White House. I always loved being a cop. I love driving fast. I love the sirens. I'm still fascinated till this day. But God had another plan. Yeah. My father was a counselor. My mother's a counselor. My sister was a counselor. We're all in this particular field. Me and my father worked together for 7 years in the same agency.
Wow.
So I didn't think that God was going to call me here. I didn't think I'd be pastoring this early in my 30s. And have me do all of these things to help the same community, here we go, that my father destroyed when he was selling drugs. Isn't it amazing that you got to go back and clean up the same community that your father infested?
Wow, that's big.
You know what I'm saying? So, and so when he got himself together, he went to school and he became a counselor. We worked together to clean up the same neighborhood that him and his friends destroyed.
Wow.
So it's valuing life, valuing process, and he figured out, I need help. And it has to be something more than me, okay? You cannot fix yourself. Parents, stop trying to fix yourself and say, and then, oh, I'm gonna get help when I get better. No.
Right.
No, it's not gonna happen,
Yeah.
all right? Just take a leap of faith and go out there and look up resources. You can call anybody resources. You can email me at drkeithlcurry7@gmail.com and let me know, hey, this is what I'm looking for. And I will connect you. Because I never take all the clients I see. There's some people I just can't help. And I know exactly who, I know who you can go to, go to her. Oh, I know who fits your personality, go to him. Because I'm very stern. And I'm not for everybody. And you have to understand, you cannot be for everybody. But I can direct you to somebody to help you. That's what life is about. Not knowing at all and say I can do everything to help you, but I know somebody who can help you.
Right. And I think you just highlighted, like, through this whole time of us just dialoguing, the importance of community. When I started at Churchman High School, that was like ultimately one of my goals, is that I wanted to develop this family atmosphere, that when you come into Churchland, it's not just another school. But when you come in here, you know that people notice you. You know, when I was going through school and growing up and things of that nature, being introverted and being off to myself, it was those days that I just wish somebody would have saw me. And so when I came here, I wanted to make sure that I saw families. And finding the time in which we've approached, in all things, look for the good. And I don't see this as being a negative in every case. Like I said, it's a time to get back to the basics and being able to identify some things that we need to begin to heal on. To be able to say, maybe my tone is not, you know, encouraging. Maybe it is harsh. You know, it was some days where I'm correcting, I'm saying, hold up, that doesn't sound good. And at that moment, there was a red flag for me to say, okay, I'm not centered. Let me step away, because once again, our kids are watching. And so with that being said, take it and knowing that in this time, it could be a time for us to really connect. You know, being able to change the culture of the school. Working at a high school, dealing with parents can be challenging, because it's almost like that drop-off zone, because we're trying to prepare them to be adults and failing to realize this is the time that the kids need us more than ever.
And what they have to understand in the school is that some adults, listen to this, are dropping their kids off to be parents.
Right.
Because they can't parent them.
Right.
Because they were never parents.
Right.
Some of them had their kids at 12, 15, 16, and don't have the ability to parent them. And sometimes kids, this is the only safe haven. This is the only time they will learn something else. They will learn how to read. They will learn how to be polite. They will learn, you know, they see what other teachers go through. So this is their stomping ground. Sometimes this is the only parenting, or this may be the only Bible they ever read through us. So I believe even the parents understand, teachers got to understand how important that their light must shine in all areas, because sometimes that's the only, and the crazy is, the hardest kids are the ones who look at the most. The ones with the worst behaviors have the most, I promise you, have the most potential. And they're only acting out because nobody has identified their triggers. Nobody has gave them opportunity so they can be more than what they see. But because school, and what's crazy is that the school, they act out bad in school, but they keep coming.
Right.
Why won't they drop out?
Right. And I think
There's
that
something
key,
to keep coming.
True. And then that key to understand that this is not a magic button. You're dealing with 13, 14, 15, right? We were 16, 17 years worth of dysfunction.
Ooh, yeah.
That it's going to be every day. You know how, didn't I just tell you? Yeah, you just told, but guess what? How many times does it take for something to become a habit? Like, you have to keep going at it. And so not thinking that I'm going to be able to arrive just because I say or I do something, but understanding this is a process. You know, the lessons. That's why in school you take and give the assignment multiple times in different forms, and then you have the test at the end. And so understanding that we have got to wake up every day with the mentality, okay, lesson number X, Y, Z. This is chapter 2. This is chapter 3 of this subject. So that, yeah, I'm going to have to keep approaching it. So, man, I am have overwhelmed with joy, because, you know, just the opportunity just to sit down and to fellowship with you, and to just begin to, like, just hopefully spark a light in some of our parents to let them understand you're human. You are not alone. And I applaud every last one of the parents that have not thrown in the towel. And then I applaud the teachers.
We miss you.
Right.
We love all of you.
Right. Gift cards are now being accepted because most people send their kids off because of not wanting to have to deal with some of that stuff.
And now they believe now what the teacher was saying all these years.
Yeah. and I guess too, before we get ready to close, what are some things that you can say to the teachers? Because, I mean, this is a different delivery. I've even spoken with teachers and just listening to their response about the situation. What are some words of encouragement that we can even give to them in this time?
Completely, it's just to hold on. I never tell people to hang on, because when you're hanging on, that means something has you. When you hold on, that means you have it. That means you have the power to grip to keep holding on. And holding on is also determined by our body weight, how much we're able to carry. That you are human. And teachers must understand that you are human. You're going through life here, and you know this stuff hitting us. Teachers got to go through their own issues and come to school and how like nothing's wrong.
Right.
Because them kids are looking at them. They got to they ain't going through nothing. You know, they could be hurting, but they know them kids. They got to carry that weight with them kids, the trauma with the kids. So I tell the teachers also, make sure you have resources. Make sure you have somebody to talk to. Make sure you have a team of people that parade behind you. Make sure you're telling yourself how good you're doing. And this pandemic, you're doing good. If you're able to log on Zoom and sit here for an hour looking at your kids, you did something.
Or the black boxes with the name on it.
You have done something. This is something I never in my life, watching movies all my life, would think I'll be living here, sitting here, doing an interview with a mask on my face because of a virus that we don't see. That is affecting this whole entire nation.
Stop right there. What he just said, a virus that we don't see. That's the anxiety, that's the low self-esteem, that's the depression. Believe it or not, we have been fighting these viruses our entire life. When is the time that we're going to say
wearing a mask?
Wearing a mask. When are we going to say that we are enough, and it's time that we vaccine ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, everything to get to a place of healing?
Absolutely.
I don't think we could have ended this shake on a better note than that. So families, just know that the support is here. You are not alone. You are worth more. And there may be a point now that you say, hey, it's time for me to get to a place of getting what it is that I need. Because not only is it vital for my survival, but more importantly, it's vital for the legacy in which I plan on leaving behind. And so, in closing, what would you like to say to our families out there as they're watching this?
I want to say, stay encouraged, okay? I want to say that you are more than enough. I want to say, if nobody is telling you that you're doing an amazing job. I want to tell you, if nobody told you that you are loved and I love you, and we are rooting for you, we're cheering for you, we're wishing the best for you. I want to let you know that you can go through anything in life and overcome. You can be whatever you desire to be if you put your foot forward. There's an opportunity for everybody, but you have to take the initiative to go forward and press beyond what you have experienced or you have seen. So to all of the families, if you ever need help, you find Dr. Carey. If you ever need someone to talk to, you find me. If I cannot help you, I promise you I will find someone who can help you and do whatever we can to make sure we resolve any issues that you may be experiencing.
All right, so how can they find you?
They can find me, I'm on Facebook. I get a lot of inquiries on Facebook, which is crazy, but you use it for the best of your ability. You can find me on Facebook, Keith L. Curry. You can email me at DrDrKeithlCurry, the number 7 @gmail.com. You can reach me at any of those. I don't get my number out, praise the Lord. But but you can reach me at the end of the internet, and I promise you I'll get back with my people within hours to make sure I'm able to assist you.
Okay, well, I thank you so much for your time. This is truly has been a blessing just to be able to have you here as another resource to our families as we are aiming and striving to just engage, empower, and to inspire our families. And so, Trucker Connect, this is our episode coming to an end. And just remember, as I always say, L2BD, learn, live, love to be different in a world full of copycats. Your story was intended to save somebody else's life, But in order for that story to ever be heard, we have to make sure that we're making sure that we're developing, we're growing, and we're doing what's necessary in order for us to build a legacy worth following, because our kids are watching. So as always, grace and peace.